Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cosplay Sewing School. Today I have a special treat for you. We are interviewing Annabelle Lamb of Horizen Cosplay, and we are going to be talking about all the awesome stuff she makes, and that's why we call it Maker Monday. So hey Annabelle, you want to introduce yourself again here? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
So hi guys, my name is Annabelle from Horizen Cosplay. I make lots of cosplays. My main thing is sewing them, but I also make and design 3D prints and all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, that's more or less it.
Cool. So how did you get into this? What made you love cosplay? How long have you been cosplaying?
My family, all the women in my family sew quite a lot. So I've grown up sewing like a lot of my own clothes and, mending stuff a lot of the time. And after I first moved out of home and in with my partner, we had some Christmas money that kind of, I'm going to say, needed spending. And we stumbled upon a sewing shop, which we had no idea was in our local town. And I walked in and all the sewing machines were on clearance, and my husband kind of prodded me until I gave in and got one. And it was then we discovered that there was a convention only about an hour away from us that took place once a year. And I said, oh, wouldn't it be fun, like cosplay, dressing up, all that kind of thing. And the only cosplay my husband would agree to at the time was being an earthbender. So I made his costume first. It came out so well, I made myself a matching Kyoshi warrior cosplay.
Ooh.
And after that, things just kind of kept rolling.
Yeah, it's addictive. It's like people say, I don't do tattoos because I don't like getting poked, which is weird because I sew, right? But but yeah, it's like once you start, it's over.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I can't really, I'm not sure how it got this, it's like an addiction. I'm not sure how it got this bad, but one day I woke up and this was just it.
So do you do this as a business too? Are you a pro? Do you take commissions?
Yeah, so I actually lost my job during COVID. So since then, I have been doing it a little bit more professionally. I opened up an Etsy shop selling 3D prints. Initially, it was supposed to be 3D printed cosplay accessories, but a lot of people were like, oh, Disney castles. So now it's like Disney castles, and there's a Harry Potter castle on there, and I've got some other bits that I'm hoping to release soon. So it is a business in that sense. But the main reason I do it is because I love it and enjoy it, and it's fun, and I can't see it changing anytime soon.
Okay, so 3D printing and sewing seem like at the surface two completely different, fields of making. But tell us about the 3D printing stuff, software, hardware, get us in deep.
Sweet. So I brought a, oh man, I just need to check. I brought a mono-price 3D printer. Just, it was on sale and I picked it up from some random location. I'm not, again, it's one of these things. I'm not sure how it happened. It just kind of did. And I picked it up right before, I think it's Kanumi Cosplay brought out her 3D printing for cosplay book, and I was gifted that book. And I basically use that book as a basis for learning how to design 3D prints. At the moment, not all the 3D prints I sell are designed by myself. Some of them are licensed, some of them I have done. But I'm kind of just been working on improving my skills and I'm trying out a lot of different programs at the moment. I started off using a program that basically runs in your web browser, and I've kind of concluded I don't like it, and I haven't quite found one to replace it yet. So I haven't decided what program I'm going to stick with right this second, but yeah, no, so at the moment, other than the stuff I sell in the shop, I'm also doing some armor pieces for Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. I like, my dream cosplay is to do every one of her outfits. So I'm just kind of
so
starting
awesome
with the ones that have little pieces of armor and then going to work up to the one that's like fully armored. And it's going quite well. I've done some sample pieces and they've come out all right, but they just don't fit me because they're way too big. So I need to adjust sizes. But we're getting there, and I'm pretty proud of them so far.
Okay, so you obviously, like those of us who make, we all have like dream machines, dream 3D printer.
Oh, it's the one minute. I have it written down on my home screen of my laptop just so that I knew, like, when I eventually get to buy it. 1 minute. It is called the Snapmaker Pro. The reason I love it is because it doesn't just do 3D printing, it does engraving and stuff as well, but it also 3D prints with metal. So that
Ooh.
technically, if I was making armor, I could 3D print an
Yeah.
actual metal armor piece. And I'm pretty sure there's like a massive long list of reasons why I loved it so much, but I've been trying not to look at it because it's one of those things where it's like it's a long-term goal. If I stare at it too much, then it's not going to happen.
Yep, I hear you on that one. There's the same thing with sewing machines too. We all have our little like, okay, there's the prize, the carrot at the end.
I actually was really, really lucky. I had a dream sewing machine, and for Christmas, which was the Janome Skyline S7, and for Christmas, my husband actually brought it for me.
Oh, wow.
And I literally was in tears. I was so happy.
Okay, so obviously you love sewing and the 3D printing. So I guess, so a lot of people do their armor in foam. Is foam just like not interesting to you, or like?
I would love to try it, but honestly, the problem is finding it. I just haven't got any like local suppliers. I can't just nip to the shop and buy it. I'm in the UK, so we don't have. I think it's Joann's you guys have in America, isn't it? So, yeah, so we don't have Joann's over here. If I ever go to America, my goal is to go to a Joann's just for the experience. And I've just found ordering it online, it's either really pricey or where you get it from seems to be quite unreliable. So because I'm now a registered business, I am looking around wholesale EVA foams to see if I can maybe get some of that for myself. But I just haven't found any that I really want enough that it's either at the right price or the right quality yet. But I would love to try it. It's just a case of I just haven't had the opportunity, unfortunately.
I think what I love about cosplay the most is that it's all really about kind of being inventive, and whatever material suits your fancy, like that's what you should go for, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's what you have access to, what you enjoy doing. I mean, honestly, I think there's some things you can do with 3D prints that would take you forever in foam. You know, I mean, there is definitely some coolness that can't.
It's really interesting looking at the comparisons. So one thing that I do as a hobby is actually making actual metal chainmail. I'm not particularly good at it. I've never made any massive pieces, but it was one of those things where one day I just went, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do this. And I recently 3D printed some chainmail on my 3D printer, compared it to the actual stuff, and it was just really interesting looking at these two different techniques that produce more or less the same thing. I'm sure a lot of chainmail people are going to argue that they're not the same thing, but the point is they look similar enough.
Look similar, yeah. So so what other secret hobby makes do you like to do? Like, I know I love fiber arts, so like I spin, but like everyone has other little things. What are some of yours?
So probably my big one is embroidery. It's one of those things where I pick it up and put it down quite a lot, but I have this little obsession of making all these little you get the mini embroidery hoops that are like that big. And I put little animal pictures and little cute sayings in them, and I've just have this massive box of these because one day when we move into an appropriate house, I just want an entire wall of them.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
It started off adorable, but now it's gotten to the point where I'm looking at this box going, is that enough for just one wall, or is that going to be 2 or 3? Because I've been doing it since I was like 13.
That's so fun, though. I love embroidery. It's a great way to pass the time and keep your hands kind of. Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you get from idea to actual made thing.
Okay, so normally the ideas for who I cosplay actually come from my husband, who watches a lot more TV shows and animes and various things than I do, and he'll normally come up to me and go, we must watch this anime because it has this character in who you would look really good cosplaying, and then I watch it with him, which is great. It means I waste less time. And what I do is, even if there's like a really detailed sketch of the costume that's already available, I'll always sketch out myself. And that just means like if there's an adjustment I want to make, I can put it down. And it just means that I really know the process of sketching it out really helps me understand how I'm going to make it, any layers that are going to be involved, any adjustments that have to happen, how I want it to fit me, where the seams go, that kind of thing. And then it's sourcing materials. I am a massive fan of using recycled materials, so my first stop on any cosplay trip is the charity shops. And the amount of cosplayers I've got which are made out of old bed sheets or curtains or just random, I've literally gone into a charity shop and brought like a 10-meter roll of fabric because someone just dropped it off, and which is the best thing ever. And then if I don't find anything in charity shops, then it's to the actual sewing shops to see what I need. I'll normally do anything that needs sewing normally happens first. I like to use my own patterns, but sometimes I do adapt commercial patterns if there's one that's close enough to it. And then it's on to props, accessories, all that kind of stuff. At the moment, that involves a lot of designing on the computer and then 3D printing those designs, or it's, you know, buying the bits and pieces, the wood or whatnot, to make the 3D props. And the last thing I do is the makeup, and like deciding how I want the makeup, and I leave this to the last minute possible because makeup is actually my least favorite thing about cosplay because I'm just really bad at it. Which is, you know, goals. One day I want to get better, but at the moment I'm just like, oh, I have to put makeup on for something. Why?
I hear you on that one. It's
Yeah.
like, seems like any more of the times I put makeup on or when I'm doing video, like right now.
But it's so funny, like it just takes me, I didn't wear makeup until I was literally a year ago. So when I was 23, I started wearing makeup, and before then I've maybe used a bit of powder, a bit of mascara, nothing else. Like I literally have one makeup bag with like a eyeshadow, mascara, lipstick, and that's pretty much it on. And the learning process of learning how to put makeup on at 23 is very embarrassing that I don't know it. But it's also, it's interesting because it gives me a really big appreciation for all these people who can do such amazing things with their face. And I'm just there like, yeah, so how do I put mascara on properly again?
See, I always say, actually, this is a funny thing because people will say, oh my God, you're so good at this. And then I'll look at them and go, oh, you're so good at this. And that's really, isn't that the beauty of life? Is that everybody has different
really,
skills?
really nice.
I'm too. I look at some of the makeup artists and I'm just like floored. I'm just like, yeah, if I can draw, I cosplay Rainbow Bright. If I can get the star on right, I'm thrilled.
when I was doing my Kyoshi face paint, I literally, the first time I did the face paint was the day I went to the convention. I brought the face paint months in advance, but because I just hated putting all that stuff on my face, I just was like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The morning of the convention, I had to wash it off and redo it. I think I ended up spending 3 hours in front of the mirror because I just couldn't get it right. And afterwards I was like, why practice? That would have been such a good idea. But you know, first cosplay, lesson learned. I've never done it since. You always practice beforehand.
You're not doing cosplay if there's not something last minute. That's what I found out. So do you compete as well, or?
I honestly have never had the opportunity to compete. The times when I've been to conventions, I've kind of gone to them at the last minute, and normally you have to enroll in advance for cosplay competitions, so it doesn't really happen. I was going to compete this year. I even made a competition cosplay, but obviously with the local plague, nothing's running, so that hasn't actually happened.
That's, well, you know, it's happened to all of us, right? Like we're all...
in all fairness, I'm just happy that I finished the cosplay. And actually, because we've been in lockdown, I've had nothing better to do. I have gotten through so many cosplays that I haven't even managed to get photos of all of them because I just made too many too quickly.
So as a lifelong maker, obviously you have probably learned a few things from your making, and I find it really interesting how making things actually translates into our daily life. So what are some things that maybe you've learned in your experience as a maker that might help others in their experiences?
The number one thing is time management, and honestly this is something I'm still really, really bad at, and it's that work-life balance that all these lovely people keep telling me about, and I'm just like, what is it? I don't understand, because growing up, I always had jobs where I lived on site and that job was my life, and I never had a lot of hobbies until I got into cosplay, and then all of a sudden it was actually there's something that's just as important as my job, in my opinion. You know, it might not earn me a living kind of thing, but as a emotional appreciation and a break, it's really, really nice. And actually the problem I've had since making it my job is that I'll like work on it from 6 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, like every day kind of thing, because I struggle to give myself breaks, and I struggle to feel that it's okay to just take an hour off and do nothing kind of thing. And knowing that everything's not going to be perfect and everything doesn't have to happen now kind of thing, that's something that I need to learn, and that I think other people should definitely take into consideration. And also planning con crunch is a very bad thing. I've done it once, I can't do it again.
Guilty.
So having said that, after this year, I think I've got costumes for a couple conventions.
So do you also struggle with perfectionism? Is that something that plagues you?
It's one of these things. If I do something wrong, I'm really bad. I probably won't. Like, if it's really bad, I'll unpick it and redo it. But if it's just a little bit wrong, I won't redo it. But then I'll be bitter about the fact that it's not correct. So on one hand, it's like, I'm too lazy to undo these few stitches that you can see on the outside of the dress because no one's going to notice them. On the other hand, it's like, why don't I just redo it? It would only take 10 minutes. But I just can't seem to find the in-between.
It happens, right?
Yeah.
I think I find especially a lot of new cosplayers really struggle with the concept that there needs to be this level of perfection because they're looking at really experienced seasoned cosplayers, and they do that thing where you compare yourself, you're here on your journey and they're here, right? And then you're comparing. So has that been a struggle for you, or?
It definitely has. It's probably more of a struggle where I look at all these amazing cosplayers, and a lot of the times I've like gone up to people at conventions, or I've sent them emails or texts or whatever, and I've been like, oh, what do you use? Because that's a really amazing effect and I'd want to do it. And they'll send me something that I would love to get my hands on, but it's either ridiculously expensive and unfortunately out of my price range, or it's just not readily available in my area. And it's just one of those things where it's almost frustration that I want to get there and I want to be able to do these things, but then I also need to take the time to learn, because if I don't learn, I'm never going to get there. It's nice. I find people who are very good at cosplay a very big inspiration. And honestly, my favorite thing is scrolling through my Instagram feed and seeing all of the much more professional cosplayers than me and all their work in progress shots. The final costumes are lovely, but I live for the work in progress shots to see how they make things, because that's what I find really interesting.
That's a maker, right? So if I stole your phone and I'm looking through your Insta, who's on it?
Oh, Hannah Alexander. I love her designs, her cosplay designs. I haven't cosplayed any of them quite yet. I'm working on her Poison Ivy, but all her designs are amazing.
They're fantastic.
I love Pretzel Cosplay, and who else is that? Ginny D. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think about who all the names are. Nikita Cosplay, I think she's a French cosplayer. And there's a Russian cosplayer whose name I actually can't remember, but she does all the dresses from all the old Barbie movies, but she does them to absolute perfection. And it's really annoying because all of her posts are in Russian, and for some reason my phone doesn't auto-translate any of these. I've got no idea what she says, but the photos are just so amazing. And Odette Crystal as well, and Kiralee Cosplay. I love her little TARDIS dress. That was really nice.
Oh yes, and her Yoda. I love her Yoda.
The Yoda was good.
Yeah. So do you have any pictures you want to share with us, or anything you want to kind of show off?
Yes, I can do. What kind of pictures would you like to see?
Well, what do you have? A favorite costume? Something that drove you nuts? You know, like.
So probably my favorite costume. To be honest, my favorite costume probably would be my Kyoshi Warrior as my first one. The best costume I made was actually probably the Dai Li costume I made for my husband. Just because I knew I was making it for someone else, that everything had to be so perfect. But then the most recent one I've made, I actually did a YouTube video on this, was making a Thumbelina cosplay out of all recycled materials that I found in my local charity shop for like £1 each, which was really, it was like the cheapest cosplay I've ever made. It was absolutely great. And I mean, I've done a few others really, but those would probably be the main ones.
Then why don't you tell us where to find you?
Okay, so you guys can find me on YouTube as Horizen Cosplay, spelt with the E, or on Instagram. I do have a Facebook page as well, but quite honestly, I haven't figured out how to use that properly yet. So it's there, but there's not a lot on it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we will have links to your videos, and maybe you can send us over some links on your Instagram and all that. We'll put that in the description below. And I thank you so much for coming today and being a fabulous maker and making the world a better place through our art of cosplay.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye.